Welcome to Spitball Experts Podcast. My name is Dirk and I'm co-host with Arnold, and we spitball on everything concerning life, religion, culture, and sometimes politics. In the next 15 minutes, we will do exactly just that, spitballing on all these topics and hopefully come to some great revelation. So we thank you for joining us and we hope you enjoy today's spitballing with us.
So today we are looking at each other very, very awkwardly.
Yes. Yes.
If you're listening to this on Spotify, go check the YouTube video. You will understand exactly why. Anyway, so
That's how discussions start out, man. We normally start out with looking at each other awkwardly. No. So today let's drop into the topic. It's COVID and church. I mean, COVID has been it feels almost omnipresent just in the ideas of what is church, how should church be. But the thing that I want to, or we chatted about this last week, is a question I have is, or the observation, maybe it's more an observation than a question. The observation I made a couple of weeks ago is that I feel before, in the first lockdown, everyone was like, woo, church has no walls anymore. We are just going to go out and we're with the people, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's like almost like a bath, you know, when you have the nice little hot bubble bath going and you get into it, and the moment it feels great, and like after 5 to 10 minutes it's just cold. It's not so much fun anymore. So it seems to me that that's what happened with church and COVID. It's like, yes, we are out there, and I'm generalizing. I mean, that's why we're called spitball experts. We are generalizing, hoping to get our points of view being counted. But so for me, the whole thing is just, seems that church put itself in the center of faith, and I get it, the different lockdowns just made it crazy, and not being able to gather. So we're talking about the gathering of the saints, if we can use a very
biblical sense.
So it just seems like church went crazy. Hey, we need to fight for people to get back into the rooms again. So I just question, where did the first excitement go from? Hey, church is not, it's not
just in a building
anymore, to a room, and now it's all of a sudden, no, we want people back in the room. Come back, like, build back that wall we wanted to break beforehand. We need to get back in those rooms. So that's my question. What do you think? I mean, that is just crazy. Like, what's your observation? I mean, I know you're a pastor yourself. I guess that has different elements to it for you as well. I mean, we want people together. We want people to come to church, be changed and transformed. That's all good and well. But how is that for you as a pastor when you hear someone like me coming and saying, "Hey, man, it seems a little bit counterproductive what you're trying to do"?
Yeah, I think the same thing is applicable to every business that you run. So within a business sense, it was also, if you worked in a big office building, let's say over 2,000 people on staff, whatever it is, suddenly the offices are empty. People were at home. People were excited. They were like, I can work from home. I can work in my sweatpants. You know, I can just be at home. I can eat. I can nap. I can do whatever I want. And then suddenly they are called back to home office or to the office, and everything changes, because there is a sense of productivity and community that you find when you are together, people working towards a common goal. I think a perspective on church, and that's what I found just with us in the past couple of months, is, I mean, we were locked down, then we were open, then we were locked down again, then we were opened again, then we were locked down again, and then opened again.
Like a yo-yo, just
exactly. And I think in the beginning, people were excited, just like anyone in a business would be like, yes, I can now go and work from home. I can sleep up until 8:55 because I start work at 9. You know, I can stay in my sweats the whole day, in my slippers, whatever it is. But then reality kicks in and stuff happens. You know, you start realizing you are eating way too much at home because you're at home, or the kids start bothering you, or whatever the case is. And the same thing is in church. It's applicable here as well, because people in the beginning were excited because now suddenly you have a Sunday that's free, if I can put it that way, and people went out into the world. They started ministering perhaps in the world a bit more, in the streets a bit more. But for many churches, that close community and that close grouping started splitting away, started kind of, everyone went in their own direction, their own way. And I think now that people are calling their people, like churches are calling their people back to the church, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. I see it as we are calling the church, we're calling community back together, because just like in a business, we've got many people working together towards one common goal. And I think if we start viewing people that are attending church as the partners in the church, like we've all got something to do in church, that means to go and be church. It's good to have everyone back together, but then going out again. I think maybe just the last thing is the people went out, they were excited, but then they also realized they can't do this without one another, because suddenly things just happened and it just didn't pan out. But yeah, that's just my opinion on this. That's just my view on this. What do you think?
And I think it's interesting. Yeah, I do think there's obviously a very important idea behind gathering, making sure that you are, yeah, you're all going to into the same direction. But I do find it, yes, I do take a dig a lot at the mega church movement. I'm not saying the mega church movement is wrong. I think COVID just asked a lot of questions surrounding that certain type of church model.
Can I just mention something on that? I think COVID came and it showed what your church is focusing on.
Yeah.
Because what happened with your church will determine, or what happened what is happening during COVID, and the way your church is affected by it will show a lot about how healthy your church is.
And that brings it, like, I mean, church health is a very interesting conversation in and of itself, but just understanding that we all, I mean, we are product of this church model, you and I. Just looking at it, like we have church that, yeah, we want to reach cities, and I guess that is where COVID really asked a big question for us as a church, or as bigger churches with more influence. What do we centralize our idea behind? Is it truly making sure on a Sunday people are being fed, being invested in, and then they go out in the world during the week, they have their respective jobs, all of that stuff, and then that investment they have on a Sunday is really gonna help them to make an impact in their world in the next week, 2 weeks, depending on how people attend church. I mean, it should stay free. Weekly attendance is awesome. I guess not everyone can do that. But just the idea behind it. What is church about? And I guess that's the question that COVID really asked for me. Like, is it truly about having those midweek programs, having the weekly Bible study, having this program, that program, the next thing? People are so saturated by church. Can they make a difference? That was my question pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and we're still stuck into it. And I thought, man, this is a challenge. Like, we want people to be in the world, but we also want them to be in church. And how do they stay? How can they stay or be Jesus for people in the world if we tend to sometimes make church the center of their faith? That's kind of my question, and I know there's not a one answer to it. It's just it's an interesting question because I don't have the answer to it, and then I don't think we as a church or churches, depending on which model you naturally follow, the house church movement obviously being very, sorry if you are from the house church movement, I do not want to knock you just as much as I don't want to knock the mega churches. Just sometimes there's pride coming through. We have the model. We
Yeah.
with our small gathering, we have the model. And I just feel like I don't know if that is true. Like,
Mm.
is that truly going to help people to be Jesus in their workplace, in the spaces they occupy? What is the idea behind the gathering, and what should the idea be, in relation to Jesus,
Yeah.
and the mission Jesus gave us on this
Yeah.
planet?
Well, I think we go back to the point. What is the mission? I mean, the mission we have is to go out into the world, make disciples, and baptize them. Basically, the mission is to tell people about Jesus and also equip them to grow in their walk with Christ, in their relationship with Christ. I mean, 1 John is an example of this, where he speaks of, I think it's 1 John 2, where he speaks of little children, young man, and father. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a growth in that. There is a you meet Christ, you become a little child in faith, you grow to a young man, then you grow to a father. You know, there's a progression in that. But I think the thing is, that is our mission. That will never fail. That will never go away. I mean, that is the mission of all church. Rather, that is what it's supposed to be.
That's a
I
good
mean,
point. That's what it's supposed to.
yes. So many churches maybe fell away from that. And I think the big reality in this is to say that, okay, COVID came in. COVID changed everything by the way we think. I don't necessarily think church is oversaturating people. I think people need to learn to say no to certain things, because you get the people that overcommit in certain areas just because they want to commit. The church makes programs available for you to grow spiritually, for you to grow in your relationship with Christ, with other people, to get to know God even more and more. But you've got a decision if you are going to do every single process every single day of the week. And the other day I had a conversation with someone, him and his wife, they love Christ so much. And they just decided they will join Sundays, and they will join one evening in a week. They'll do something at the church in sense of like a small group or something like that. And that's it. And I respect that, because people don't need to attend every single function or every single teaching. People need to attend where they feel they need to be developed in that sense. And a church that forces people maybe into that needs to check themselves because the mission of church has always been to make disciples. And I fully agree with you, the mission of church, the mechanism of church is, the mechanism that Christ uses to do this is church, but he means the people. You and I both know this. He means the body of Christ coming together forms church. But just getting people to the building week in and week out and becoming angry and people aren't at the building week in and week out is the question. Okay, but why do we get upset? So why are we angry? Maybe it's just COVID has come and taught us we need to invest one-on-one a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Spoke to a pastor, and so we stood in front of the church, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, church service will start, and he's like, yeah, my expectation for the people coming to the church service today is gonna be super low.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, is that our job to make sure that the numbers are great? Or is it our job to make sure that the people who are coming and sitting in the pews this morning, that they are equipped to the best of our ability, and to make sure that the spirit of, so that the Holy Spirit can move, that they be changed, be transformed, and have an impact in their communities? Is it truly our jobs as pastors to make sure that, hey, at least we had 300 people and not 250, just as an argument there. And that to me is where COVID came in, and I think, hey, that's great. I feel God is challenging his church in this time. I think COVID is a trial for us. we might fail. I think that's okay to fail. I don't think there's a one size fits all answer here.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it is a challenge for us as a church. Or God is allowing COVID to be a challenge in our churches, in our settings, in our way we view the world. And each church is different. It should be different. Otherwise, that'd be boring. We shouldn't be all Hillsong, and we shouldn't be all be the small church on the corner. It would be boring if we were all the same.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a challenge, and I do think it's important, like you said, the one-on-one. Maybe it's time for the church members to go, do we truly need that program, or do I need to spend one-on-one time with a guy I do not know? Or hey, these guys have been on my heart for a very long time, and I want to invest in couples, and let's invest in those couples so that they can be strong, godly couples in their communities, strengthen the marriage. Let's fight the divorce rate. That would be insane if the divorce rate in church would be less than the divorce rate in the world. But that's just what COVID, like the conversation around that. I thought this is a really, really cool thing. I think God is allowing in church. It's not going to be not everyone's going to be a fan of it. I'm certainly not 100% fan of this challenge, to be honest, because it's uncomfortable. But I do think it gives us an opportunity to not reinvent ministry, but to figure out what does God want with ministry and how should that look like.
Yeah, Craig Rochelle has this saying I think it was Craig Rochelle or Kerry Newhoff had this saying that where he speaks of you need to start pivoting when things change, when things are challenged. It's not changing everything 180 degrees. It's just you're going in this way. So you just
the pivoting is not the whole Ross, Rachel, and Chandler. You get the couch up on the on the second pivot. No one knows what pivoting means.
It's basically, I hope it's not this, but it's basically the thing behind you going your direction, but moving it 1 degree to the left or to the right, and just changing something small and seeing where that takes you. And I think this whole process of what happened during COVID with church is we started learning how to trim the fat of what we're busy doing.
That's a good point.
And I mean, we're starting to cut away things that aren't as impactful, not necessarily necessary, but not as impactful as what we want them to be. And I think that is great because we start seeing what is the need far above what is just the want, or the desire rather. And I mean, just within our church, our campus that we're at, we are a very small campus, and we at our church, we're very small. And I mean, in the past couple of months, from yesterday all the way back to March, we've already baptized like 25 people in this time. And that is just coming from a place of people not saying how great we are, but us creating a space for people to come back to church, to come back to a youth group or to a cell group or to a community group or whatever. And people who are sitting one-on-one with one another, they're being fed spiritually, they're being fed emotionally, they've got somewhere to just journey with someone. And I think that is a big pivot that has happened in the past couple of months, in the past year maybe, in church. And that has just changed the outcome and the way that people view church. And then they started saying, listen, I'm seeing Jesus in this, so let me follow him.
Hey, that's really awesome. And I think that's a great place to leave this conversation. We are spitball experts. We like spitballing, so please keep the conversation going. I think really like that idea of, hey, maybe it's time to pivot 1-2 degrees off of what you're currently doing and see where that adventure leads you. Trim the fat. Something is not working, then kill it. I think we should get rid of the stuff that weighs us down. So I think that's a really cool way of ending off this session. Arnold, where can people follow us, like us, get in contact with us?
All right, so we are everywhere that a podcast is available: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, and so many other places as well. But Our videos are on YouTube, and also we are on Instagram. You can go and follow us there as well. And yeah, share it with someone, and let's just keep the conversation going in this time that we're in. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
And challenge.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
be challenged. Not just be the challenger, but also be challenged
Yes.
by others. I think that's always great. So keep the
Yeah.
conversation going, guys.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
If you like this episode, give it a share, give it a like on Instagram, and give us a follow on YouTube, and keep the conversation going.